Good morning, friends. Today is Monday, November the 2nd. I can't believe it's already November. October's over, and our next big holiday is going to be Thanksgiving. I hope that this video finds you feeling well, whether you're sick or not sick. I hope that you are feeling okay. And if you're not feeling okay, then I wish you a very, very speedy recovery. There's a fly in my house. I hope to be able to see you all again in person very soon. And in the meantime, what we're going to do is videos like this. I'm going to make one for you every single day on the YouTube channel. And I'm going to do a kind of a group time for you guys. We're going to talk about something. And then I'm going to give you a little challenge, and it'll just be something that you can do with things that you can find around your house, okay? So you don't need to go to the store to get anything. Just do your best with the supplies that you have, okay? Alrighty. So this week is a very important week for our country because this week is election week and tomorrow is actually election day. So some of you have been hearing about the election for a very long time now. I'm sure you've heard your parents talk about it. You may have heard your teachers at school and me talk about it a little bit. And you may have heard some of your friends talk about it. I know some of you have been talking a little bit about it during snack and lunch and work cycle. And I think it's great that you are paying attention. What I want to talk about today is just a little bit of background on how we came to a government system that allows us to have this vote, because not every country has this right to vote. So we're going to kind of backtrack just a little bit, and we're just going to kind of do an in a nutshell version. There's a whole lot of details that I'm going to be leaving out, but I want to just kind of give you a foundation of where we are now, or how we got there. And if you were in my class over the summer, we talked a lot about the Declaration of Independence and the Revolutionary War and all those things, which we will talk about again in the future, okay? Alrighty, so when our country was founded, we originally were ruled by England, and England has a king. So our king at the time wanted to have more land for himself, so he sent some people to investigate the New World. Now, of course, we weren't really that new because there were plenty of Native Americans who already lived here, and but the King of England decided some of this land should be his. So he sent some people to, mostly men at first. They came and started small colonies, and most of the first ones failed. So the people who came didn't really know how to survive out here on their own. They couldn't go to Walmart to buy food that they needed. They couldn't call in dinner delivered or that kind of thing. So when their supplies from their ship ran out, they were left to fend for themselves, and they didn't really know how to do that. So some of them died, and a lot of them went back to England. So after the king tried this lots and lots of times, finally he kind of got it right, and some colonies were set up. Now from that point, other people started choosing to move here. And we're going to talk about a lot of those people when it gets closer to Thanksgiving, because we're going to talk about the Puritans and why they chose to move to the new country, which is now the United States of America. And they weren't sent by the king. They chose to come. So we're going to talk more about that later on another day. But so now we have some colonies that are set up, and they're still run by the king, okay? They're run by the King of England. Well, obviously the king was all the way across the ocean, so he wasn't right there to tell his people what to do or to give them supplies that they needed. They had to wait a long time, and the king really, really started getting upset because the colonies were not making much money for him. Anything that the colonists, anything that they could sell or make or that kind of thing, the king expected some money back for that. And they weren't super profitable because they were brand new. They were just starting out. They didn't have a lot of help. They didn't have a lot of supplies, and they were just doing the best they could to make a life for themselves. So what the king decided to do was start taxing the people on everything. He taxed to mail letters. He taxed for everything. And he said that the colonists could only buy goods through England. So that means if they found a cheaper price, if they met some Native Americans and they wanted to maybe get some tea from them, they would be in trouble and they could even be arrested. And the king finally sent over some troops to kind of keep track of what the people were doing and making sure that they were giving the king all the taxes and money that he wanted. Well, that was not fair, and the people got very upset by it. And so some of the men that we now call our founding fathers got together and they were like, no, we're going to fight back. And so they wrote a letter to the king. They tried to use their words. They wrote letters to the king. The king never responded. And so finally, in 1776, they wrote a document called the Declaration of Independence. And the main gist of the Declaration of Independence said that they believed that all people were created equal and that all people deserved certain rights, specifically to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that means that they thought that everybody should be able to choose how they wanted to live, should be able to choose what religion they practice, should be able to choose things that made them happy in their lives. And they asked the king to release them and let them start their own country. But the king said no. So it caused the Revolutionary War. And the colonists won the Revolutionary War. And so that broke our connection to England at that time. So we won our freedom from the Revolutionary War to start our own brand new country. Okay, so now we have our own brand new country. And now we have people who have to try to figure out how that's going to be run. How are they going to have a government that makes sure that its citizens and its people are treated fairly, are heard, are listened to, and make sure that they get those rights that they deserved? They have the right to be heard for what they want from their government. They have the right to, like I said, choose what makes them happy. And so it was up to these founding fathers to really get together and come up with a plan that set our government in a way that would allow this to happen. So first they had, we didn't have a constitution right off the bat that we have today. First we had the Articles of Confederation. I'm sorry, my dog is a watchdog. She's barking at something in the living room. Willow. So first we had the Articles of Confederation, but it wasn't super detailed and it kind of didn't give the government enough power, and it ended up failing. So we had the Articles of Confederation started in 1776. I'll have to check my dates and get back with you on that. But anyway, it kind of failed to bring unity to the country and failed to bring unity how the founding fathers envisioned it. And so eventually they started drafting the Constitution of the United States. It was more detailed and it laid out our rights. It laid out the government, and it laid out what responsibilities and what power that government had. So that way it would keep the government from turning into something that would oppress the people and, goodness gracious, and have too much control over the people. So they started drafting that, and it came into effect. It was written originally in 1787, and it didn't become effective until 1789. So in 1789, our Constitution of the United States became effective. And the very first words of the Constitution of the United States start with "We the people." We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. So this is the founding roots of our democracy in saying that this Constitution is for the people. of the United States, not for the government, not for the president, not for a king who wants to do whatever he wants to, but that it's for the people. And that is the basis of a democratic government, that it's for the people. So the job of a democratic government is not to claim land and get money and do whatever they want, theoretically. But it's to make sure that the people are protected, the people are heard, and the people are getting their rights that they deserve. So our government, as shown in the Constitution, so we have our Constitution as the framework for our country, and it shows that our government is broken into 3 branches. Now notice these 3 branches are all level with each other. So they all have the same amount of power, and that was specific. So that way, no one person ended up with all the power. It's called checks and balances. So in order for a new law to come into effect, it has to go through all of the people in the government, and it has to be approved. And each branch of government has the ability to stop something that is not constitutional. So if our president tried to pass a law that was not allowed by the Constitution, he would be stopped, or she in the future would be stopped by the other branches of government. If the legislative branch was trying to do something that was not okay, the president has the right to veto that order. And so they all have the ability. All right, sorry guys, my video recorder froze, so I'm going to pick up where I left off and merge the video. So as I was saying, the Constitution set up our plan for our government to keep one person from having all of the power. So the way that people get into these government positions are by the people, the citizens of the country, voting them in. Just like when we have a vote on if we're going to eat inside or eat outside or go to the pond or go to the playground, we raise our hands, and whichever has the most votes is what we do. So what the country is doing right now is voting for who's going to be the president for the next 4 years. Presidents have terms of 4 years. They're allowed to have 2 back-to-back terms, and then that's it. They can't be elected again consecutively. So right now our president is Donald Trump, and he has been in office now for 4 years, and so he has to run again against somebody who wants to run against him. And there are more than just Joe Biden running against him. There are third parties and other parties, which we'll get into more on a different day and talk about that, because usually those third parties don't really get a chance to actually win the election. So usually it comes down to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Those 2 candidates are usually the one who is going to win that presidential election. So for the past few weeks, we've been having early voting. People who are registered to vote, when you turn 18, you are allowed to register to vote. And yes.
Can I get some water?
Yeah, go ahead. And part of your responsibility as a citizen is to register to vote and to voice your opinion when there are elections. So one person can make a difference. Sometimes if there is a vote that's really close, just 1 or 2 votes might make that difference.
Juice?
So what we're doing now, tomorrow is the very, very, very last day to vote, and it's the night that they're going to tally up all of the votes and find out actually who is going to win to be the president for the next 4 years. So our 2 main candidates are Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and they both have a running mate who would be the vice president should they be elected. And so we'll talk about, I think tomorrow, since tomorrow's election day, we're going to really get into the candidates, okay? So, and I'm going to have to do a little bit of research so that way I can tell you all the candidates and a little bit about each one and what they believe in. Now, I'm going to stay impartial for these videos, okay? So that means I am never, and even after, I'm never going to tell you who I vote for, and I'm never going to tell you who I think the best president would be, because all I want to do is give you some information, and I want you to think for yourself and not just think what I think, okay? So, that's what we're going to do tomorrow. So I've got a little bit of research and planning out ahead of me, which is exciting. It's going to be a really exciting day. But you know what? It's also going to be a strange election year for me because I'm on quarantine. I'm not supposed to leave my house. I'm waiting on my test results. So I looked up because I haven't early voted. I was planning to go vote tomorrow. So what I'm going to do now, as soon as I'm done with this video, I'm going to call the county election board. And I'm going to find out how I can vote, because it's too late for a mail-in vote. It's too late for early voting. And so hopefully, I heard on the news they might have some poll stations open just for people like me who are on a little bit of isolation quarantine. So I'll let you guys know if I get to vote and how that goes. I'll tell you tomorrow. But your challenge today, I have 2 challenges for you today, and neither of them should take you a whole ton of time. But like I said, our next upcoming holiday is Thanksgiving. And usually Thanksgiving is one of my most favorite holidays because it's when I get to see my out-of-town family. And they come down from Chicago to visit me. And we have Thanksgiving at my house. And I get to use my grandmother's wedding china. But this year it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm a little bit sad about Thanksgiving this year. Because of all the coronavirus, I'm not going to get to have Thanksgiving at my house with my out-of-town family. So we'll have to think of a different way to see each other this year. So if you're going through something similar, know that you're not alone. Your holidays might look a little bit different this year, but hopefully next year we'll all be able to give those big hugs and see all of our family that we've been missing from out of town. But your first challenge today is to make a list, okay? So I don't need sentences. I don't need complete sentences. I need a list. I'm going to make a sample list to show you what a list looks like, okay? You're going to make a shopping list, and your shopping list is going to be for things you would need to make Thanksgiving dinner. Now, everybody's list is going to be a little bit different because different families have different traditions that they like to have at this time of year. One of my family's traditions is pumpkin pie. So one of the things I would need to put on my list would be supplies for the pumpkin pie. My side of the family comes from Chicago, and so the way I grew up eating Thanksgiving dinner is different than the way my husband grew up eating Thanksgiving dinner because he comes from Louisiana. And so now, usually we have my family and his family, and we all get together and we have one big Thanksgiving dinner, some with northern food and some with Louisiana food, and I like all of it. So my list would be super, super long. So you just need to come up and think, what are some of the things that you normally have for Thanksgiving? And if you were the one who had to do the shopping, what would you need to buy? And you're going to come up with a list. So remember, a list is not sentences, because if you're at the store, you don't have time to read through paragraphs, right? So I'm going to make a list. My list is going to be, let's see, things I need to take care of Milton. I hear Milton drinking from his water bottle. I'll show him to you on the video tomorrow. So things I would need to take care of Milton. I'm going to title it Things for Milton. And some of the things that I need for him are water, bedding, food, a cage, and right now we need his medicine because he's still taking his medicine. And that's about all I need to take care of a hamster. So here's my list. All right, so what I want from you guys is a list of things to make things you would need for shopping for Thanksgiving. Your second challenge requires you to go outside a little bit, and the challenge is to make art from nature. So you can either collect things from nature and glue them onto paper, or you could go outside and create a statue, or you could create something, a large piece out in the yard using the grass as your canvas. Whatever you want to do, you can get as creative as you want with it. But if you make a beautiful piece of art, please ask your parents to take a picture of it, because I would love to see it and they can send it to me, okay? So those are your challenges for today. I'm going to work on number 1, cleaning my house, and number 2, researching all of our candidates who could potentially win the presidency tomorrow. All right, so you guys have a wonderful afternoon and try to get a little bit of exercise, eat some healthy foods, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.